Welcome back everyone, and today we're going to be talking about your deal flow, your funnel, how to get leads. This course is going to teach you how to passively get leads in front of you to analyze, and also how to actively go out there and search. First up, we need to talk about what a deal even is. There's 4 main ways that you can get a good deal. The first one is low or no money down, where you're not bringing a lot of capital into the project. The second one is the cash flow is very high on the project. The third one is the appreciation for the project is very high. So after you're done all your work, it's worth a lot more than what you bought it for. The fourth one is the trouble or the pain in the ass factor is very low. So you don't really have to think about the project that much. I've organized those in kind of the most important to least important when you're a new investor. When you're first starting, you probably want to prioritize low or no money down projects, then maybe start working on projects where you have a higher cash flow, then work on projects where the appreciation is very high. When you're first starting, projects that have a high pain in the ass factor are your bread and butter. You're trying to solve these difficult problems to make as much money as possible, as soon as possible. When you're a little bit more experienced, maybe you want to focus on other things, maybe you're looking at return on time versus return on investment, you start prioritizing the pain in the ass factor being lower. In general though, reorganizing these factors to see what makes the most sense for you is how you can find out what makes a deal for you. How do you even find a deal though? There's a few different ways that I really like to use, and I've listed them here. Obviously, you're going to need to personalize this for you and your personality, what you like doing, your time availability. At the end of the day, everyone is unique, and a blended strategy from all of these things is how you're going to find the most success. The first one to kind of deep dive into is networking. Everyone hates this initially. It's so intimidating to go out there and talk to people randomly like that. I want to give you a few tips that'll make it a little bit easier. First tip is just to reframe how you think about this. Are you the type of person that wants to go out there and help people? If that's the case, think about it as outreach to solve other people's problems. Or if you're motivated by results, think about it as a hunt for a diamond in the rough that can be polished. If you're someone that's motivated by checklists, targets, KPIs, then reframe networking as a collection of no's until you find your yes. When you're networking, try to focus on building a relationship that's mutually beneficial. So it's not just about finding a realtor that can find you a deal or a wholesaler or something like that. What about connecting with local businesses that you could each refer business back and forth to? For example, a moving company that refers business to my storage units and my storage company that refers business to this moving company. Networking doesn't only need to be in a very professional setting. Practice these skills with your friends and family. Talk to them about your problems. Share your problems, and try to create a mutually beneficial solution. Sometimes the best leads come from these personal connections and referrals. I know I personally have gotten a lead from my barber. Another suggestion is developing an online presence. So very similar to what I'm doing right now, where I'm creating content for you guys to enjoy, you could be creating content so that people know exactly what you're looking for, who you are, and what you do. When you're first starting out, paying for stuff like ads could be a little bit intimidating, but Google ads or Facebook ads or something like that could be a method that you could use for outreach. There's tons of free Facebook groups, even websites for off-market deals. Those are other things that you could be scraping for information. This one's very time consuming, but pretty effective. Direct outreach. Maybe you're door-to-door knocking, sending out flyers, doing phone calls. You have to be careful here. Make sure you're being respectful of other people's privacy and time. Make sure that you have accurate information for people so you're not wasting your time chasing dead leads. This one kind of sounds silly, but you're going to get addicted to it at some point. When you're driving around the city, you'll just start doing it automatically. Just drive through neighborhoods you're interested in and look for houses that could maybe use a little bit of love. These houses could be distressed, vacant, vandalized, underutilized in some way, such as a lot split. Take note of these property addresses and find a way to reach out to the owner directly, or you could have a pile of letters in your car that you could leave one in the mailbox or door. Along with networking, you start meeting wholesalers and realtors, people that have leads to a large volume of off-market deals. Try to create a mutually beneficial relationship for these people so that you can provide some value as well. In the USA, it's much easier to find public data for people, but in Canada, it's a little bit more difficult. However, there's still public records that you can use and MLS data you can scrape to try and get information to get contacts, or even on-market deals that maybe aren't moving. When you're looking on the MLS, maybe try to find deals that have been sitting for a long time, so high days on the market, they have kind of crappy photos, maybe the descriptions are incorrect or not really complete, maybe they're miscategorized or they're out-of-town realtor listings. We already talked about your power team. Try to use them to your advantage. Reach out to them and tell them what you're looking for. One example is I contact my repair technicians that are going out and repairing my washing machines, dryers, stoves, whatever. And I tell them that I'll pay them a fee if they are able to find me deals for people that are looking to sell. And if I close on it, they get even more. I became kind of known for the guy that buys these shitty crack houses and makes them nice. One of the strategies that I used is posting a sign out front of my crack house projects and saying, remember how bad this used to be? Look how nice it is now. We're solving all these problems. Reach out to the number below if you have other properties that you know that could use a renovation like this. The neighbors love this stuff. You're cleaning up all of their problems in the neighborhood. One of the main things that you're going to need to know how to do is the math to find out whether the project has any sort of financial viability. There's a ton of rental calculators out there. I love using DealCheck. You can use it for free, and there are tons of other paid options as well, but they can walk you through pretty much everything start to finish and help you make sure that you have thoroughly analyzed the data. I've listed the most important things you're going to need to account for. Maybe on some properties there's a few things that aren't needed, or maybe on other properties there are a few things that are extra. Your list of expenses gets long, so you have to be careful and make sure you haven't missed anything. You need to make sure that you're actually cash flowing these properties once you buy them. When you're analyzing commercial properties, it's even more important because that net operating income is directly tied to the value of your property. Making mistakes is not good, obviously, but making emotional decisions to leave out or slightly downgrade expenses is even worse. You're lying to yourself. Let's just say you've got all that down and now you're actually on the property and you need to figure out, is this property garbage or no? I've put together a list of building inspection kind of tips and tricks. Sometimes you do have to pay professionals for this, but there's some tips to help you make sure that you have a little bit of knowledge going in. You want to make sure you're checking your roof, your basement, your mechanical room, your water systems, your plumbing, your laundry, your exterior. You need to make sure that you're checking those properly so that you have an accurate representation of what the renovation costs are going to be. Once you have that renovation estimate, that's when you can build out a budget and see if this project is worthwhile or not. A general rule of thumb to give you a very quick back of the napkin estimate on if this project is going to be worthwhile at the end of the day is the 1% rule. Essentially what that means is that your monthly gross rent should be 1% of the purchase price. The example is if you have a $500,000 fourplex, if you're making $5,000 per month, that's the 1% rule. It means that the property will likely cash flow. Again, you need to run your numbers carefully, but this helps you quickly sort projects into something that's more feasible or less feasible. I've listed out some common mistakes that people make when analyzing properties. There's more to it than just cash flow sometimes. You also need to think about how much money actually went into the deal to create that cash flow. I'll give you an example. Let's just say your cash flow is $10,000 a month. That sounds amazing, 120 grand a year. But let's just say you had to pull $10 billion to do it. All of a sudden, it's not that good of a deal. Conversely, let's just say that if you give me 100 grand, I'm going to make you $10,000. 10% return sounds great. And then you ask, how long is it going to take? And I say 20 years. Not that good. These things go hand in hand. Your total return and the amount of time that it takes you to make that are important. Another big mistake is just fudging the numbers a little bit up and down just to make the numbers work because you're emotionally invested in the project. You need to be ruthless when running the numbers. You can't be fudging numbers. The third biggest mistake is not really knowing what you're doing in the area that you're buying. You need to be an expert in that area, or you need to hire experts that can guide you. Let's just say you see this property in the downtown of an area. It's super cheap compared to the other properties surrounding it that are for sale. You think it's a great deal, and you're about to pull the trigger, and an investor calls you and says, hey, that thing is a crack house. It's had fires, it's had floods, it's had everything. And all of a sudden, that deal doesn't seem as good. Obviously, the numbers could still work, but if you didn't know that going in, that's a big problem. We talked about niching down previously, and this really comes down to that. You need to figure out what you want to do and then become an absolute expert in that niche. And that's it for this one. I hope you learned something valuable. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're interested in joining the free school community, the link is down below, and all of this is in there for you. See you on the next one.